That's what I was afraid of.
That's okay, but that's a really good idea for next year. And that might not even happen tonight anyway.
It might not. How is it? Worked out?
It has been
Pretty
a
nice.
great day.
Yeah.
I'm just coming from the state president's house.
Oh, yeah?
It was just released,
Oh,
so
wow.
it's emotional.
I'm sure. It's, like I said, it's too bad you got to come here tonight, but
And what are the odds this meeting stays on, or that this day stays on that high note?
hey, are we on TV? So TV's up?
Right, we're recording.
So we're recording, TV's on. Just so you know.
Oh, okay.
Hey Chris.
Greetings.
How are you?
I don't know, I think I have stuff mixed together and I
What's the
had
shark?
your check on mine. I find
That's
that
next
make
year.
it
Times. Yeah. If you could, I don't.
Never supposed to happen.
But the gentleman's here too. He can always come up and speak and introduce it.
Susan, I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, very good.
My son just got home from his mission today. So
So happy for you.
You're hooked on
And I
fish.
miss yelling.
I am.
yeah, you're,
Sometimes that's my meal. Many times that's a meal.
I got a cigarette pride. I've never been there.
Haven't you? No, I'll bring you in next time. No,
And my final.
I am. I definitely am.
Yeah. So I should have
There's a
most of it.
and I don't, all the rest are girls, so I don't know.
something
if they're
I'm
all
addicted to.
gonna
It's
go,
the-
or if any of them.
I can stop at any time. Is that what people say?
We're ready.
That's what they say.
I can quit at any time.
I just knew how tough it is. I mean,
Have we got Jake on?
Yes. He's muted his phone, so we can't hear him breathing and all those things. But I think if he wants to talk, he'll unmute it.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock, and so we'll go ahead and get started. I will be starting off the meeting today. Mayor Hyatt is running a few minutes late, so when he gets here, he'll come in and take over. So in the meantime, you're going to have to put up with me.
Susan, wait just a minute, sorry.
Okay. It's 7, it's after 7, so he told me to start.
Recording's not working? Uh-oh.
But that is, maybe we'll, go ahead.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. To start off today's meeting, I would like to go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Susan Lee, and I am City Council and Acting Mayor Pro Tem, and we'll take it. We have Councilmember Snell, or excuse me, Garn. Tonight, he is with us on the phone, and so we'll go ahead and let him introduce himself, and we'll go from there.
Jake Garn, City Council.
Dave Adams.
Already introduced yourself. I'm Chris Snell with the City Council.
Larry Page, City Council.
Shane Scott, City Manager.
Maria Devereaux, City Recorder.
Lyle Gibson, Zoning Administrator.
Okay, so today we will go ahead and we'll start with an opening that will be given by Council Member Adams. And then we'll let Council Member Page lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll go from there.
Is Tommy Jeffcott here? Okay, Tommy, give me 1 second. As many of you know, obviously, I'm Councilmember Dave Adams. I'd just like to take a brief moment and apologize to the citizens of Caseville and to those abroad for some of the things that have come about, some of the unintended things that were not intended. Obviously, I'm speaking to some of the media and the issues over the Caseville Water Parade. It was never the intentions of Mr. Vance Garfield or myself to bring about any of these problems or any of these troubles or to trouble any of you with the headaches and the stress that is abounded from it. Our hearts, I believe, I know Vance's was pure, and I believe mine was pure in our intentions. The water fight's been a great thing for the last decade. It's been a wonderful tradition for Caseville, and it's been a wonderful tradition, I feel, for my family, and I know Mr. Vance Garfield feels the same way. So I'm saddened, and I'm sorry for the things that have come about. It's been a long time coming. that the parade's been a great thing. I know just the other day, a friend of mine was traveling home from Florida on an airplane and sat next to somebody. And this woman was from California, and as soon as the connection to Caseville was made, she says, wow, it's unbelievable, you're from Caseville. She says, why did I not know you guys have the world's largest water fight? Where have I been? So it's been a great, fun thing to do. We've enjoyed doing it. And I hope that you'll accept our apologies on behalf of myself and my family for the stress that's come along with it. There's been many things that have been stated in the media, and many things which aren't entirely the whole story. Just saddened that perhaps Vance and I's story couldn't have been heard first as to what happened. There was a big crunch of time, and usually we have 3 or 4 months, my crew and I, to prepare it. This year, some of you may or may not know, I sold my business, which carried a couple $1 million umbrella policy for general liability, and in years past, it felt like that would help cover any kind of incidents. And this year, we were opened up, my family and I, my wife and children and I were opened up to a whole new level of exposure. So we did request of the city in late April and May that if you can carry the liability off of us, perhaps we could continue. And then it became known to us that some of our gear had been stolen for the parade. A $4,000 piece of gear had been stolen. So with all those compiling upon my family and I, we couldn't really bear to continue the tradition anymore alone. And luckily we have a wonderful man, Mr. Vance Garfield, who stepped up to the plate and said, what can we do to make it happen? I'm sorry that things have come about the way that they have. Please accept the apology on behalf of myself and my family. I would now like to turn the time over and to introduce you to Mr. Tommy Jeffcott. He is the pastor of the Kaysville Bible Church, and he has offered to come and be with us here tonight. We're grateful to have you, Tommy. Welcome with us. We're grateful to have you come and be as a community member. We're grateful for the services that your church provides in our community to all of us. And we now offer the time over to you to offer us the invocation.
All right. Let's join our hearts together in prayer. Great God, our Father, we thank you for a new day. We thank you for life and breath. We thank you for the beauty of your creation that we have the privilege of observing in our beautiful city. We thank you, Lord, for your faithfulness and your goodness that is without limit. We thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to conduct business tonight. We thank you that in your sovereign wisdom you've seen fit to ordain human government. We realize, Lord, that this serves a very specific purpose according to your plan. And so we ask, Lord, that as this council meets tonight and we as citizens would partake in this meeting, that you would give us wisdom to know what is right, to know what is good, that we would move in that direction. And as we do that, Lord, we ask for unity, we ask for harmony, we ask for clarity as thoughts are communicated as we move through the agenda. Lord, thank you again for this opportunity to meet together tonight. We pray that the things that need to be accomplished would be accomplished for your glory. In the name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Babcock.
Will the audience please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
To start off tonight, we would like to do the drawing for the Play Unplugged, and apparently we're having a hard time getting the word out that we're doing this drawing. I thought by now it would really take off, but we have a couple of names in here, so it's going to be a surprise who wins. Go ahead, Dave.
Oh, wow. All right.
Brought two.
2 of them, huh?
Yeah.
All 2 of them?
Yes.
There you go.
All right. So we probably know who the 2 are that won tonight's drawing for $25 each, and it is, I'm trying to read, let's see, Carter and Cody. Katie. Kate. Oh, Kate. Okay, sorry, I couldn't read that. If you two will come up, and we'll go ahead and present you with your award. Are you twins? Yeah. That's great. Do you want to take a picture?
Absolutely.
What's up, guys? Good job. It's $50.
This is the only.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize to join you a little bit late this evening. As you may have read a little bit, tomorrow the 388 Fighter Wing at Hill Air Force Base is declaring the F-35, which has been more than a decade in the making, and stationed Hill Air Force Base will be declared as combat ready tomorrow morning, which means that the new F-35s can be officially be deployed to a combat situation. That ceremony is tomorrow, and because just about every possible leader from the Air Force is in town, they had a gathering in Layton that I stopped in at, and was a little bit tough to step out, but you were almost as good as, well, no, that's not true, but I'm still delighted to be here. We have another item we're going to add to our agenda, but the first item that we're going to discuss is number 2, recognition of 6-year-old Tabitha Nielsen for paying it forward by selling lemonade to honor police. Now, that may sound like a really simple agenda item, but we're going to have you watch this video, if you would, please, and then we'll ask Tabitha and her mother and her family to come up.
Well, Kaysville has seen a lot of lemonade stands pop up this summer, probably because of some special visitors.
Kaysville police officers trying to visit every lemonade stand. They found one that has a special purpose and is part of tonight's Pay It Forward.
Probably that. Okay.
Tabitha's lemonade stand in Kaysville is hopping. Take a closer look, though, and you'll notice that a lot of the customers are police officers. There's a reason for that.
We started a thing called Cops Love Lemonade Stands. Me and my partner, Officer Martinez, are part of the POP unit, and part of that is to kind of engage in the community, and nothing better to do that than going over and spending time with some kids and drinking some lemonade.
Tabitha isn't selling lemonade to make money for herself. She decided to pay it forward when she heard about the police shootings in Dallas.
She just wants to donate to the Dallas police officers and their families, and she's just a sweetheart. Because I think it's a good thing to do.
Tabitha's father told her about the Dallas police shootings.
She just decided, Dad, I think I want to give them all of my money.
So this particular lemonade stand has special meaning for Tabitha and the Caseville Police Department.
You know, I think it's a really good thing for the kids to see that cops are friendly and that they're nice.
One of the things that we really, I think, need to do as a law enforcement community is humanize the badge.
And what is more human than sharing some ice-cold lemonade on a 95-degree day?
It can make a difference to those individuals, those 10 or 15 kids we were able to visit.
And when officers posted about the program on Facebook, well, things kind of exploded.
Yeah, we hit, I want to say, 10 to 15 lemonade stands that day, and we're just sick by the end of it, but happy as can be.
And they pay for the drinks out of their own pockets.
We all live here in the county, and it's very important to let them know that we are part of the community. All of us have families. All of us go home to them at night, or hope to.
We want to help Tabitha and the Kaysville Police Department buy more lemonade. Time to meet Nathan Anderson with Mountain America Credit Union.
Again, we're so supportive and appreciative of all you do to serve our communities, and we have $500 to give you to pay it forward so that you can go around and get more lemonade and continue to strengthen community relationships. So
Thank you so much. You are awesome. We appreciate it.
Hey, for more about the Kaysville Police and the lemonade stands, you can just go to their Facebook page. They've got all the information on there.
For a link to that page, go to our Facebook page, or our website, KUTV.com, click on features, and then click on pay it forward.
It's nice to officially meet you. We come stand right here with me, for me. Council, would you like to join me too? I think this is a city council effort, not just. What did you guys think of that video, Tabitha? It's not often that we get a lot of really, really smart, really sweet, kind-hearted young people who want to give back to our community. And when we saw your video on the news, our hearts were just filled with joy and with happiness. And we downloaded the Channel 2 video and put the video on our city Facebook page. And as of right before this meeting, it has had almost 20,000 views on that video, which is pretty awesome. You've gone viral. What do you think about that? That's cool. So we wanted to think of how we might be able to honor you for your wonderful service. And Officer Martinez and Officer Turner, would you please join us up here as well? Let's give a round of applause to these two fine officers. So, Tabitha, we want to present something to you today. I think something that might be really fun for a 6-year-old is to have your very own day in Caseville. Now, we decided not to do it today. We thought we'd do it for Saturday to make it a little more extra special, and then you can really have a fun time with your parents and say, hey, it's my day all day long. Yeah. So this is what we want to present you, and it says, Proclamation, August 6, 2016, Tabitha Nielsen Day. Whereas Tabitha Nielsen, at just 6 years of age, demonstrated a positive work ethic by starting her own lemonade stand. And whereas Kaysville police officers patronized Tabitha's lemonade stand as part of their program, Cops Love Lemonade Stands. Whereas, as a demonstration of Tabitha's kindness, she decided not to sell lemonade for herself. She decided to pay it forward when she heard of the 6 officers killed in the line of duty in Dallas, Texas. And whereas Tabitha's positive example has caught the attention of KUTV News, who covered covered her lemonade stand, and whereas after being posted on the city Facebook page for a week, her video has 20,000 views, and whereas as a city, we are desirous that our inspiring young people be honored for their selfless service. Therefore, I, Steve Hyatt, Mayor of Kaysville, along with the members of the Kaysville City Council, hereby proclaim August 6, 2016 as Tabitha Nielsen Day in the city of Kaysville, and urge all citizens to join, assist, and celebrate the great example of this wonderful young lady, dated the 4th of August, 2016. Congratulations. Now, Tabitha, you did such a good job on the TV. Do you have anything you want to say or you want to add today?
I don't know.
What made you want to do this? What made you think about giving back to these officers?
It made me feel really good inside of myself.
And how did you feel when you heard that so many people saw what you did and how happy they were?
Amazing.
Amazing. Well, that's a great word, Tabitha. You're pretty darn amazing yourself, and we just want, on behalf of a very grateful community, want to thank you for your wonderful example and all of your hard work. Good job. Yes, and maybe if we could have the family join us, and we'll take a picture with all of us, if that's okay. And Tabitha, we have one more thing that we need to give you. Maybe the family, if you want to come right here in the middle. Tabitha. want to face this way. We'll wait for your mom. Mom, who I'm sure helped mix all that lemonade too, right? You had to roll. One other thing that we want to present to Tabitha, when we talked about this story and knew that we were going to do this, someone really important wanted to send you a letter, and the letter's from Governor Herbert, and he said, "Dear Tabitha, I watched the recent video of your paying it forward with great admiration. I was more impressed when I learned that you were only 6 years old. Your selfless service, especially to our law enforcement officials, is a wonderful example to me and the entire state of Utah. At the time when our country finds itself increasingly divided, I am inspired by your kind heart and creative spirit. With young Utahns like you, I'm confident that our state will be in good hands for years to come. Keep up the good work, and I look forward to seeing your continued service as a great leader and example in our state." Signed, Gary R. Herbert, Governor of the state of Utah. Hey, look right here. Awesome, great job. Great job, Tabitha. Let's give her another round of applause. Mom, Dad, do you want to say anything? It was Dad's telling her about it that started it?
Yeah, we were just sitting out the day that the cops came, and it was the day after the Dallas shootings, and I just felt that I think everyone struggles going to work daily probably, and I think that cops are very underappreciated, and I know that most of the times we probably curse at cops because they make us slow down or make us obey the law, and I found a new appreciation for their services, and I just thought it was important to let her know that even though terrible things can happen in this world, you can still be a light and example to people, and hopefully something will seep in and the next generation can make the world better than it is today, and that was the hope with that.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Wonderful example. Appreciate it. Officer Turner, would you mind joining us here with Officer Martinez? We would like you to, and you're welcome to stay up here if you'd like with us, but we'd like you to tell us maybe what led to this, how the program started, and maybe just explain a little bit about that if you would.
So I came from a department in Colorado, and they were part of the Cops Love Lemonade stands that the International Association of Police Chiefs kind of put out there so that, police agencies could go out into the community, and they thought, that is a pretty good way to interact with the public in a positive manner. So I brought it to Chief Oberg, and I asked, is this something that we could participate in? And both him and our lieutenant said, yeah, go with it. And Officer Martinez and I put it on Facebook, and it happened to be, I think, the weekend after the Dallas officers were killed, and it really took off, and it has been so much fun. There haven't been many other things in my career that I can look back on and really feel a lot of joy and accomplishment with, and this has been one of them. And so Tabitha, Beckham, and Greta have been pretty special to us, and this is something that we looked forward to honor them. So this is all about them today.
And you're right about that, Officer Turner. It is all about them. We're grateful to honor Tabitha, but we do also want to point out, and I think Tabitha's father said it best when he said, sometimes we don't always look at the police officers in the way that we should, but it's important for us to honor them and to recognize them. As a community, as a city council, as I talked with Chief Oberg, and Chief and Lieutenant, would you mind joining us too? We can never have too many people up here. But I talked to the chief about the efforts of Officer Turner and Officer Martinez. What a great example of community outreach. What a great example of what can be done to really build and nurture a relationship with members of our community. And I think the fact that this was also covered by the news and the paying it forward and what you're doing and the wonderful example you're setting, we would like to present the both of you, and it's something new that we made up. but it's a mayoral citation, and we'd like to present one to each of you. And I'm gonna read this if I could. I'll borrow Officer Martinez. As Mayor of Kaysville City, I'm proud and privileged to recognize our most distinguished and altruistic public servants who serve not only to protect the community, but who go above and beyond to foster relationships of trust and represent the ideals of positive community outreach. Foremost among those are the fine public servants, Officer Lacey Turner and Mike Martinez, who are honored this day before the Kaysville City Council during the Kaysville City Council meeting, and hereby thanked by the City Council members, staff, and residents for their invaluable service to the City of Kaysville. These exemplary officers of Kaysville Police Department have led community outreach efforts, including helping to launch a program, Cops Love Lemonade Stands, a community outreach that has built positive relationships with our residents and inspired many people, including our youngest citizens, to pay it forward by always looking for ways to serve and give back. Therefore, I, Steve Hyatt, Mayor of Kaysville, along with the Kaysville City Council, do hereby call upon the residents of our city to join with me in congratulating these fine officers for their outstanding service and offering our full support and continued success as a Kaysville City police officer, given under my hand and the seal of Kaysville this 4th day of August 2016. Congratulations. And one last thing, I feel like I'm talking an awful lot. The governor wouldn't be the governor if he didn't write a letter to all three people that we were honoring today. And so we also have a letter from Governor Herbert to the two of you that also that says, I watched the recent news story by visiting lemonade stands throughout the and told of your outreach efforts by visiting lemonade stands throughout the community. I'm writing to congratulate and thank you for your dedicated efforts to look for innovative ways for law enforcement officers across the county to develop more positive relationships with the communities they serve. Your example and dedication to public service is not only admirable, it's a great example for others to follow. On behalf of a grateful state, thank you for your service and for representing our community so well. Signed, Governor Gary R. Herbert. I feel like I have done more than enough talking for one meeting. Anything you would like to add?
You know, one of the reasons why I choose to be here in this city, there are many opportunities right now for us to be seeking other opportunities for work that are less hazardous and that are less stressful for our families and carry way less liability. But when you look at what the big picture is, it's about serving each other. We have that opportunity, and we are taken care of relatively well to be able to do that. Because I always wanted to be in a service-oriented profession, it's awesome to work with those alongside us in the small community that we live in. It really still has a feeling of community. That's one of the main reasons that keeps me here. And we have a department that's a pretty tight-knit department. So I appreciate all the support that we get from our mayor and our city council members in allowing us to do things like this, because in a lot of departments this probably wouldn't fly. So it's a pretty unique community that we live in, and I hope everybody recognizes that. And I'm sure those that are present at a city council meeting do recognize that. So thank you again for all your support as a community.
I'm just proud of these two today, and they are a very good example of everything we have at the Kaysville Police Department. We have an outstanding department, and which is tough to have these days because we're just stealing from each other as police departments. There aren't good officers enough coming out of the police academies to fill our ranks as my generation retires out. So one thing I tell prospective officers when we interview them is you can have a very good career here. You can have the kind of career here that people could only have 20 years ago. And this family here and these officers, they help me prove that. And that helps bring more talent and retain talent. And that's what makes us close-knit, or officers like these two. But for those who don't know, we have a whole department of officers like this, and that's probably my challenge, is to showcase their talents and the type of officers and department we have. So I appreciate all of your support, and especially the mayor and council for what they do for us and their support in serving all of you.
Thanks, Chief Oberg. Thanks again to the wonderful officers. Tabitha, thank you to you and to your family for helping us showcase these your wonderful efforts, your service, and these wonderful officers. Would you all join me in giving both Tabitha and these two officers a big, big round of applause.
While they're wrapping up, it's pretty cool what Officer Martinez said in the clip there that about humanizing the badge. That really stood out to me, and these guys are fine examples of that, along with all the rest of the police force in Kaysville, of the way that they approach people and the way they treat all of the residents and patrons of Kaysville. Good job, you guys.
Thank you. Good job. I wanted to also mention, too, I just told Tabitha's parents, I said the best way we can thank you for your wonderful example is by telling you don't have to stay for the whole meeting. And they did just mention to me that she raised $147 that day for her lemonade stand that she donated. So that's pretty incredible, pretty impressive.
Profitable organization.
All right, the next on our agenda is Volunteer of the Month. We'll turn the time to Councilmember Chris Snell.
Thank you, Mayor. Here in a moment, we'll be bringing the council back down on the floor. Should have just left everybody up. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a wonderful opportunity once a month for me to be able to extend a thank you on behalf of the Parks and Recreation Department to individuals in our community who volunteer their time. This month is especially special for me. The August volunteers of the month are Kim Williams Smith and Wendy Bennett. I'll read a little bit about you both, and then we'll invite you up to take a picture with us. Kim was born in Salt Lake City and raised in Dallas, Texas. She went to college at the University of North Texas, BYU, and the University of Utah. Kim graduated in 1988, cum laude, with a BS in political science from the University of Utah, and then went to law school at BYU. She graduated in 1991, cum laude again, with a Juris Doctorate from BYU Law School. Kim practiced corporate law with Allen, Nelson, Hardy, and Evans in Salt Lake City. She also practiced corporate counsel with Megahertz, US Robotics, and 3Com, as well as was an enforcement attorney with the Securities and Exchange Commission. A lot of experience there. Kim semi-retired in 2004. She currently is a small business owner of 3 Chevron gas stations and 2 Subway sandwich shops in Layton. Kim founded the Caseville Youth Court in the fall of 2000. She has lived in Kaysville and Fruit Heights for the last 24 years with her husband, Mark, and 3 children, Casey, Katie, and Caden. Kim coached youth soccer with Kaysville Parks and Recreation, as well as Wasatch Soccer Club from 1997 until 2010. She enjoys traveling, canyoneering, jeeping, golfing, tennis, snow skiing, water skiing, and soccer. It probably would have been shorter just to say she enjoys everything, basically. Kim also enjoys watching any sport, but especially college football and basketball, especially the Utah Jazz and Real Salt Lake. Now, quickly, I'll read about Wendy. Wendy was born and raised in Cedar City, but wonderful Kaysville has been her home for the past 29 years. She and her husband, Jeff, have 3 children, Colton, Cade, and Taylor. They are also the proud grandparents of 5. She graduated from Cedar City High and attended 2 years at Southern Utah University. She then worked as an executive secretary for several attorneys and in the legal department at Questar. Wendy currently has the best job in the world. She is now working as a secretary at Windridge Elementary, right here in Kaysville. Wendy began her association with the youth court in late 2000, so almost as long as it's been founded. Her son was one of the first group of judges to serve. Kim needed some help, so Wendy volunteered. 16 years later, they are still going strong. Wendy has always been interested in law and police work. That, together with her love of working with teens, makes youth court perfect for her. She has thoroughly enjoyed her time with the youth court and has been impressed with the incredible young men and women she serves with. They are smart and caring and are dedicated to serving in the community, helping their peers. After graduating, many have gone on to a career within the legal profession. Wendy has also enjoyed working with the teens that have gone through the youth court process over the years. She appreciates the many compliments and constant support from both parents and youth. It makes her happy to see lives of teens change and good and better choices being made. Wendy has love, respect, and faith in the good members of this generation of teens. She hopes that her association with them through the youth court might somehow make a small difference in their lives. Will you put your hands together with me and thank Kim Smith and Wendy Bennett for their tireless efforts with our Kaysville Youth Court. Please come on. We'll have you back at maybe here. Please thank them once again.
All right, thank you very much, Councilmember Snell. And we have one other item that we're going to do right now, and that is turn the time over to Ron Zollinger, head of our Yard and Garden Committee, for a presentation of appreciation.
You think you're done coming down? Don't plan on staying up there too long. Representing the Kaysville Yard and Garden Committee, we have a presentation to make tonight. Before we call up these individuals, the teacher in me wants to comment. If I can, Mayor?
Sure.
When I was at Utah State going through school, I was introduced to a social theory called holism. And as I remember, this theory discussed the relationship of component parts to the organic whole. And it's obvious in Kaysville that Kaysville is what it is because of the component parts. And each contribution that we as citizens make to the city makes Kaysville the greatest place on earth to raise a family. It is truly our hometown, and we love being here, and we love doing things to make it better. And that was the whole purpose for the Kaysville Yard and Garden Committee. Not only to make Kaysville better, but to make Kaysville beautiful. And a place where people live with productive gardens, healthy lifestyles, and that's what we've been about for the last 6 years. And we've sponsored wonderful gardens. You can see the one out on Main Street. We have a little bit over there at Tri-City. We sponsor Yards of the Month and landscaping and design, and we just try and do everything to maybe change Kaysville mantra to, instead of Kaysville's hometown, Kaysville beautiful. But we'll still work on that. Last June, we expanded our yard and garden tour that we've held now for 5 years, 5 previous years, to say, you know, we have sister cities that we interact with a lot. Farmington, Fruit Heights, those communities feed our high school. And we thought this concept of having people, offering people an opportunity, going into yards, you know, back of the house, and looking at landscaping and design and type of perennials and trees and wonderful productive gardens is a good thing. And so we contacted those cities and said, would you be interested in joining our effort? And both Farmington and Fruit Heights jumped on the bandwagon. We got volunteers. So we had 14 homes, 6 in Caseville, 4 in Farmington, and 4 in Fruit Heights. And these residents opened their yards up for 2 days, an afternoon and a morning the next day, to allow anybody to come and look at what they've done. People are proud of what they've done. And Dave, you've been on this program of ours, and people just wonder in awe at some things that are done. And it was a wonderful event. Your IT man, who's not here, he was a significant help in creating an interactive virtual map experience, and we want to thank him, and putting on the website a map that people could download. We had over 1,000 hits to that site, and that translated into a significant number of people who took out of their time. It was the air show that day, those 2 days. It was treks were going on. There was a lot of conflicts, and I don't know if we can ever find a time when there's no conflict, but we would like to find a time and have even more participate. But in our community, we've already recognized 3 homeowners, and we'd like to recognize tonight because the Simpsons were not able to be here last time. In fact, Scott and Samantha, when I talked to them about offering their property to be part of this, they says, oh, we're going on a family vacation, but we love people to come and see what we've done. So we promised them that we would house sit for them and make sure everybody was cool in what they did. And people just loved the outdoor living that Scott and Samantha has created in their backyard. They've got a wonderful kitchen area that they've created, some raised boxes of gardens. I don't have pictures, but we've created this certificate. You can see, and it's signed by the mayors of all 3 cities. And we'd like to invite Katie, and Fran, daughters of Scott and Samantha, to come up and receive not only this certificate, but we have businesses who have supported us. Joe's Greenhouse wants to give them a $10 gift certificate. Tri-City has a $10 gift certificate, and Taco Time also has a gift certificate to present. So Katie and Fran and council, it's now time to come down and join in this presentation. We have a picture taking. Paul, come on, Paul. While you're going back to your seats, we would also, Mayor and Council, just want to say that we would not really exist like we are without the support of this man over here. Mansfield has been, I don't know what words can describe the support, because we operate under his Parks Department. But he's truly been the spirit of support and dedication to keep our committee going. So we'd just like to say thanks to Vance and to Laura, one of his employees that works with us. So thank you very much. Last time I wanted to do this, but from the very beginning, 6 years ago, Marilyn Grin has been on our committee and is here tonight. So would the congregation please express to Marilyn, come on Marilyn, stand up. 6 years of helping.
Thank you very much, Mr. John Zollinger, and thank you to everyone on the Yard and Garden Committee. Early on in the City Council, about 8 years ago when I first started in the City Council, it was one of my assignments, and it was sure hard to get something to work, and then you all came in and it just took off and has been amazing. So thank you for all of your efforts. Really, really appreciated. The next item, ladies and gentlemen, on our agenda is next on our agenda is proposal for officer first responder recognition. And is Julie Treadwell here with us? There she is. Turn the time to Julie. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm actually Kendall Treadwell. I'm Julie Treadwell's daughter. She is unavailable to be here tonight. But I'm here to represent the Treadwell family and talk about officer and first responder recognition, which we've kind of already talked about a little bit tonight with the recognition of the officers. On Thursday night, August 20th of last year, my younger brother, Coleman Treadwell, was involved in a severe car accident and life-flighted from here on Main Street and 2nd North. He was told that he would have about 2 hours to live. And now my brother is finishing up the summer term at BYU and is preparing to serve an LDS mission. So these are just the beginning and just a few of the miracles that have happened since his accident. At that time when the accident occurred, our lives were completely consumed with the needs of him, right? About how his health was doing, mental, physical. And we didn't have the capacity to show our gratitude to the officers and first responders at that time. And there's still no way that we can adequately thank them for what they did. We cannot raise their salaries, we cannot paint their homes or treat them all to a steak dinner. I wish we could. Our whole family is very grateful for all that they did. And my mother was speaking with Officer Wilco, who works at Davis High School. He was one of the officers called in to take photos of the accident because my brother was still unidentified at the time when they were life-flighting him to the hospital. And as they talked, he said that the best thing to show our gratitude would just be acknowledgement or recognition of some sort. Few of us have jobs that encompass the very real dangers that these officers face every day. Few of us have jobs that as we leave our homes, we don't know if we'll be returning that evening. What must it be like to know that every time they go to work, they'll be dealing with the worst of humanity, the armed and dangerous, the mind-blown addicts, the abusers, sexual and physical, the violent, the haters, the injured, mangled and dead, the crazies, the normals who are simply ticked off that they got caught speeding, so take it out on the peacekeeper. How must it feel to be the one assigned to go to a home and break the news to the nearest relation? We need to take time to acknowledge and appreciate. Right now, there is so much negativity in the news, especially with the occurrences in Dallas, Texas, that we need to show this gratitude to our special forces, the cops, and the officers. As we read or watch the news coverage, we might feel proud of our local law enforcement teams and inwardly salute, but who would know? How would the first responders and officers know if they never see or hear support from the silent majority? We would like to propose to the City Council a citywide effort to acknowledge these men and women who serve in these capacities and recognize their efforts despite the ongoing negativity and daily encounters with very disturbing situations. We propose we set aside the Saturday of August 20th as a day to show our support. And we have several ideas of forms that we could show the support. I will just read a few of them. One would be the marquees in Kaysville on the schools and off at the businesses with slogans to support our officers, banners, balloons in the colors of the security forces, black, navy blue, and red, messages, notes, treats, or gifts sent in from families and individuals as donations and then given to the officers and their families. Media swamping, as in Facebook, Instagram tweets, have a certain hashtag maybe that people need to post. Message in the city utilities bill, and even an idea of an educational scholarship fund for the children of the officers, where people from the community can donate to that fund, and then that fund can be given to the children of those officers to start their college career. So this is our proposal, and we'll turn that over to you to decide what to do with that. We are so very grateful for all that these first responders do and have done to help our family. And we know there are many others that have had similar experiences in the Kaysville, Fruit Heights, Farmington community that would also like to show this gratitude. So, thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Kendall, before you go, first of all, we just say thank you for raising the question and starting the dialogue. I think that's what matters most, and I think as a city, we would love nothing more than to participate and help launch those efforts. I think there are many who would be willing to participate. As my part of my liaison is with the police department, I'd probably be the best point of contact, but my gut would tell me there are others in the council who would want to participate as well. So maybe if you could shoot me an email tonight with your contact information, and we can set up a meeting to have a discussion and get it rolling. I think it's a great idea, and thank you for bringing it to the suggestion to our attention. It's a wonderful, wonderful idea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So glad to hear that.
Thank you again. The next on our agenda is call to the public. This is the time in our city council meeting when we open the microphone to any of you in attendance that would like to address the city council. We don't have any public hearings associated with tonight's call to the public, so if you would like to address one of the items on tonight's agenda, this would be your opportunity to do so. I have just a couple of comments about call to the public that I would like to address before we get started. It's been when I first started on the city council, I've been served as mayor now for 6.5 years and served on the city council 2 years before that. And when I first served on the city council, call to the public, let me back up. Before I served on the city council, I attended most of the meetings, almost all of them, for about a year before I ran and was elected. And as I sat in the audience, call to the public was at the end of the meeting. And at least as one who attended the meetings, that always kind of bothered me. I thought to myself, well, if I'm here for one of tonight's agenda items, I'd like to speak about it before the city council makes up their mind or makes a decision, and call to the public was listed at the end of the meeting. Shortly thereafter, after I was elected, we had a discussion, and the city council unanimously decided to move call to the public to the front of the meeting. And there's recently been some suggestions from members of the public that a few things change with call to the public. We've had suggestions that we move it back to the end of the meeting so that it can be more of a dialogue and a little less restrictive. Several weeks ago, we had a lot of people come and speak at call to the public, and we wanted to be as responsive as possible. Before we knew it, we were 2 hours into the meeting, almost, taking comments from call to the public, responding back to those comments, and those who were already on the agenda, I think you could tell we were getting a little agitated, like, hey, we're on the agenda, and these things are just going and going and going. And so we stopped, and that was a learning experience for me, and I think everyone else. And so we've had a little bit of discussion, had some recommendations. As of right now, I still have called the public at the beginning of the meeting, and I'm probably a little bit biased because of my feelings previously that I felt like at the end of the meeting were counterproductive. And so that being said, personally, as the one who sets the agenda, as of right now, I don't have any inclination to change the order of when call to the public is listed. That being said, I would certainly be willing to make an adjustment if the majority of the council wanted to do so. I'm not recommending that we make that decision tonight, but I do think it's something that, based on the requests that have been made, that we at least consider. One thing that can help, though, I think for those of you that are in attendance, we have asked that you keep your comments limited to 3 minutes, and the city recorder keeps track of time, a beeping indicates, and we ask that you wrap up your comments. It's really sometimes a fine line and difficult for me to say, you have all made the effort to come out here. If you want to speak, we should hear what you have to say. And it's a little awkward sometimes when the time expires to say, you know what, sit down, you're done, you can't talk anymore, because it's a pretty significant effort to come out here and speak. That being said, in the spirit of cooperation and respect for the time, I think keeping call to the public and where it's at, and if that's what is desired. When you hear that beeping, some are very respectful of it and wrap up their comments immediately. In the past, we've had others that ignore the beeping as if it's non-existent. And so we would just ask, maybe we'll give you a gentle wave that your time has expired. We would ask you to wrap up your comments. I would like the council to at least ponder on that request of adjusting call to the public at a different time in the meeting, but those are at least my initial thoughts and comments. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we will open call to the public. We do ask that you keep your comments limited to 3 minutes. When you hear the, maybe we'll get a louder timer, but the subtle beeping that your time has expired, we'd ask you to, we don't necessarily need to hit 3 minutes and be mid-sentence and stop, but maybe a 15-second buffer instead of a 5-minute buffer would be appreciated. Thank you. Call to the public.
My name is Mark London, and I appreciate your time today, Mayor and City Council. I live on Shepherd Lane, directly across the street from 25 West, which enters going towards Endeavor Elementary. The reason for my visit tonight is, as I've watched over the last year, Henry Walker's development behind my home to the south, I've watched them begin to develop and have come around the corner, and as part of the agreement with the city, they have put in sidewalk and curb in the home next door to my house. I inquired of Andy Thompson in June about the development and continuation of that sidewalk and the curbing, as myself and all but one owner of the land have already paid the city for that sidewalk and development. So Andy said he'd get back to me. I didn't hear from him, so last week again I called, again requesting a response about, why the curb and gutter had stopped at the border of my property rather than continuing through and finishing up and around the corner at 50 West or 50 East. Not only that, but where they've stopped that sidewalk, there's an immediate drop of 3 to 4 feet. And as we're about to get back to the school season, I can't imagine why we would leave such a concerning situation with this sidewalk where kids are going to have to advance going east to get up to the crosswalk, and at that point have to go back out in the street. And come the winter time, no doubt we're going to have situations where they're going to want to slide down it, they're going to want to do something, putting liability on me as a property owner for the way that sidewalk has just been ended, prematurely at that point. So I'm asking the City Council to advise us is 2.5 years ago, we made those payments when parcels of property were subdivided. 2.5 years later, we still haven't seen those funds used to put in that sidewalk and curb and gutter. Now, last month, I listened to the Burton Lane discussion, and these folks, although I know the street over there is needing repair, these folks haven't even paid for it yet, and we've paid for it and we haven't seen it. So I'd like to see the city council and the mayor address and give us some feedback as myself and all the neighbors are looking for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Linden. Councilmember Page is our liaison with the Community Development Department. If you'll, before you leave tonight, if you're still here at the end, sync up with Councilmember Page your information, or if you leave before we're done, provide it to Maria, our city recorder, and Councilmember Page will coordinate with you and bring the item back to the city council if necessary. If it can be resolved outside of the council, then all the better, but we'll make sure it gets addressed. Thank you.
I hate speaking in church, and this is worse. My name is Marilyn Boren. We have lived in Caseville for 25 years. My husband has been on the fire department for 23 of those. I haven't come to city council probably since I worked at the library for several years, but I have been watching them online. I will say, first off, Councilman Adams, I appreciate the words you said, but I will tell you what I tell my kids. Proof is in the pudding. I have been very embarrassed as a citizen of Caseville to see how some things have been going. To address this, I think one of the big problems is the water parade. I love the water parade. My kids are in their 30s. They loved it when they were kids and teenagers. I talked to my husband tonight because we've talked about this over the years. When we moved here, and Jim got on the fire department, the parade, the water parade, which it wasn't a water parade, the fire department would go down Main Street during the parade. If somebody would squirt them with a squirt gun or a hose, which has gotten more intense over the years, they would squirt them back. When the parade ended up by the old fire station in the school, they would bring the brush truck, and anybody that wanted to get good and wet could come over, and the fire department was more than happy to accommodate that. Several years ago, I asked Jim why the fire department didn't do it anymore, and they were told that they were not to be over that anymore. What the circumstances was and who told them that, he doesn't remember, and I don't know. But I think if we're going to have a great water parade, it should be under the city, not a private person, and you've got a lot of good firefighters that love to squirt water. They roll their hoses out after the parade is over down the driveway of the fire department. There's no reason why the city can't use their brush truck or another truck that's appropriate to have this water parade and fight. They can come down, after they do the parade, they can send their truck back down. If we're paying for expenses to repair a truck, I feel as a citizen, my tax money should go to the city and let the city be in charge of it and use that expense for the firefighters to be over that. There's no ego, there's no complaints because somebody put out personal money for this. This is a city thing, and it should be under the city. And I appreciate living here. We have lived here many, many years, and I don't get paid for my husband running off with the fire department for 23 years, but I wouldn't live anywhere else, and I'm grateful for his service and for your service.
Thank you.
My name is David Robinson. I would like to commend you for the spirit that has been said at the beginning of this meeting. It's refreshing, and I appreciate what you have done. I would like to just comment on the public comment period. One of the problems I see is that I'm not sure how we, as members of the public who want to come and make a comment, have the ability to look in a crystal ball and see what's going to come up at the meeting and express ourselves at the front of the meeting without knowing what's going to go on. Because as the meeting progresses and controversial things come up about which we would like to comment, we're prohibited from doing so. And having the public comment later in the meeting would then permit us to react and offer our comment as to what has been said. And it makes it very difficult. Now, tonight, for example, on the agenda, there is nothing regarding the 4th of July parade and the issues related thereto, the alleged improper or unlawful conduct of a councilman, representations, I'm sorry, just a minute, the auditor's report, which was made public on the 2nd of August. And I noticed that Maria, and by the way, she did a wonderful job, agenda and minutes out early. And I wrote her a note and told her thank you. But the audit report came out on the 2nd. This agenda was prepared on the 29th, so obviously it was not included, but it makes me wonder, is this going to come up for discussion? And so I don't want to comment on that now, not knowing what's going to come on down the road. Also, there is nothing regarding the Code of Ethics, and particularly with respect to the Code of Ethics is the manner in which it was constructed and the rather pointed criticism last time about the public citizen, that's me, who participated in the drafting of that. And then you were entertained with a lengthy letter from Mike Flood, which is filled with misconceptions and no response for me yet. And I don't know whether that's going to come up, and so I don't know how to respond to that or whether I should. Obviously, the public works situation has been on the news. Is there any discussion that's going to occur about that tonight? If there is, public comment should be heard. But we don't want to do that if it's not going to be an issue. So I think you see the dilemma we find ourselves in. And I don't know what would be appropriate. I don't want to raise something if it's not going to be an issue later on in the meeting. But I don't want to be foreclosed from commenting on that at the appropriate time.
Thank you.
I would request, Mayor, that if any of these issues that I have raised come up later in the meeting, we be given the opportunity to offer public comment. It is not, none of them are on the agenda, and so I have not planned to comment on them. But if they do come up, Councilman Adams, already in his opening, has made some statements with respect to that, with which I have serious problems and reservations. I'll let that go now until it becomes the subject of discussion.
Thank you.
You're not getting a Brig Lewis, but you're not getting a story tonight. I've got a couple of items concerning ethics and integrity. But first, I want to thank Officer Turner and Martinez. They're the only two that kneeled down to talk to Tabitha. Nobody else was willing to get down on their knees so they could talk to her face to face. I commend them for that. I want to address the several things on ethics and integrity. I've been reviewing the report. Some of the things in it probably don't belong there. They're interesting. They're useful information. Other parts of the policy appear to be geared toward a 5th grade civics class. But where do I send my comments? You don't have to tell me now, so that they will be included. I got several items I want to talk to you. I'm going to talk quickly. The other night on the evening news, we saw the smiling face of Councilman Snell discussing the Dave Adams fire engine situation on TV. I want you to know that's a breach of ethics and integrity. If in my company where I work, if one of my coworkers did something that was ethically wrong, or they did something was wrong, and they got on the news, and I was seen talking to the reporters on the evening news, I would be fired immediately. I would have no job the following morning. Appreciate that. The other item that I would like to do is in the city, we have rebates that are available to the citizens. Most of the people in this room or listening on the phone are not aware of the rebates that are available to the citizens. A lot of the city council people are, a lot of the city leaders are. They have been the primary recipient of most of those rebates. To me, I would suggest that in your ethics policy that those rebates should be off limits to the city council, the mayor, and department heads and their immediate families. Is it illegal? No. Does it look like it's appropriate? Not really. It looks questionable. The other item that I want to raise also has to do with ethics and integrity, has to do with when the appointment was made to fill the place when Councilman Jared Taylor resigned. I sat through the entire meeting that evening. I listened to the people give their talks. I listened to the questions that were asked by the city council. I watched the entire drama. There were 11 or so qualified people who had applied. It was late. They were articulate. They presented themselves well. Late in the evening, a vote was taken. I was embarrassed, and my heart ached for those candidates. Each of them knew the deck had been stacked long before the meeting. It was a charade, and they knew it. If you want, you could go ask any of them, and they will tell you that. None of them received a vote except two people, Councilman Snell and Lynn Galbraith. And Mayor, I would recommend that somehow something be done so that that charade does not get repeated in the future. It is an ethics and integrity issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Clay Allen, a Kaysville resident. Just a quick comment. I've worked in my career for more than 25 years in the field of public and media relations, and it is clearly within the councilman's scope of responsibility and freedom to speak to the media on behalf of an issue facing the city. He's a public representative of our city, and he can do that at his discretion. And anyway, I've been a regular observer of city council meetings here for a while, and like many Kaysville residents, I'm concerned and I'm frustrated with much of what I've seen. As one commenter mentioned at the last council meeting, he said it's sad that a code of professional conduct and standards is needed at this time, but unfortunately, we've witnessed several instances inside and outside of these meetings proving that something like this is indeed necessary. And I think most people in Kaysville naturally expect their elected officials to bring a certain level of courtesy and decorum and civility and professionalism to their position. And note, I'm not saying that they all need to think alike or always agree on everything. In fact, it's probably good if they don't. A good, healthy, open, honest, and civil debate is what this city needs. But I'm not here specifically to talk about the use of city funds for private property repairs or purchases or any possible justification because that private property may have been used in a way that benefited the public. The state auditor's report is complete now, and I'm sure that the city council, the attorneys, the city staff and others have plenty to discuss and decide about that. Instead, I'm here to comment about a thing that was mentioned. A member of the community who stood here at the last city council meeting 2 weeks ago during the public comment period to call out and to criticize two of our council members for the way in which they raised that issue at the July 7th council meeting. Specifically, he accused council members Snell and Garn of playing games when they raised the issue about the expenses incurred for the fire truck and the water parade without simply asking a direct question about the legitimacy of the expenses. But I disagree completely with that characterization of how that all came about. What I saw and heard was that the council members were asking about getting clarity on policies that related to the use of city-issued credit cards. who could use them, for what expenses, what kind of controls were in place to ensure that all was handled properly. In fact, I think they were being very tactful and not simply challenging the expenses directly at that moment. And getting clarity on the use of city credit cards was completely the right thing to do. And that needs to be clear and understood by all going forward. And in my opinion, that is what they were asking about. I didn't see it as some kind of subversive ploy or an attempt to bait anyone into an overreaction or to an outburst. I'm glad that our council members asked the question and continued driving to resolve the issue. Had they not, the whole issue may not have come up in the first place. And I think more transparency, not less, is what we need here. And I just want to close and thank all of you for your service, every one of you. I really appreciate the job that you do. And I hope you all can come together and work together to continue to make this a great place to live. Thanks.
Thank you.
I wasn't planning on speaking, Larry Cragen, but the gentleman before Mr. Allen, I can't let that go. I watched all the newscasts, all of them. And if the only thing he can pick out of that newscast that's unethical is Mr. Snell talking to the media, there's a problem. I see a whole lot of unethical things that happened. And Mr. Snell talking to the media was not one of them. Thank you.
My name's John McClary, and I'd like to comment on the gentleman that talked here. I thank him for the comments that he made in Chris's defense there. Not that he needs any defending. I'm glad that he looks at those claims, and everybody looks at them. They should look at those in depth, just not glancing over them. And if there's a question, it should be brought up. But what I really want to talk to you about, you know, it seems since the 4th of July and the water parade, that has made the news all over, and it's the buzz thing around. But what are we missing? We had the best 4th of July that we've had here for a long time. You know, breakfast was served for thousands of people at 6:30 in the morning with volunteers. We had great programs throughout. We had a fantastic water parade. I'm very fond of the water parade. I know the fire department years ago used to squirt water, and we rearranged that water parade a little, and it used to be the city council was more involved in it. They had fire hoses and went down, and little kids with squirt guns, and that people bring buckets of water. I think we need to get back to that type rather than the great big commercial type water things that drench people. When we first started that, we used to come around 50th and down Main Street. I remember 2 ladies came up to me when I was a councilman on that, really upset because they got wet. And I apologized to them. They said, "Are you going to do it next year?" And I said, "Yes, we are." They said, "Fine, because we want to get wet again." You know, they had their hair all done, but that's the spirit that we need. We do a lot of great things in Caseville. We have a lot of programs that have been initiated by different people that have made this town grow very much in their activities. You show me one town the size of Caseville that does so many different programs that cost actually nothing for people to come to. You can't beat the New Year's Eve thing in that, although I wish it would go longer up until midnight, but I understand as you get older, 10 o'clock is midnight. But what a great thing. But let's not forget what a great day the 4th of July is and what we have in Caseville for just not ourselves, but the children and the variety. There goes that beeper, but I'm going to talk. But for all the people that come from outside of Caseville to Caseville for the great times that we have throughout the year. It's too bad things have had to come to light, but you know, let's get over them. Let's pass on and get going with it. Let the ball falls where it goes, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, regardless if I agree or disagree with any issue, we do ask that when folks come up to the microphone, if you agree with what's being said on either side of an issue, that you keep your applause to yourself, just so that we don't create an atmosphere where anyone that wants to speak that might be contrary to what was recently applauded for has any reason to feel intimidated to not come to the microphone. So, thank you.
My apologies, Mayor. It was like the Pavlov dog theory with the bell. I just heard a clap, and sorry.
It's all your fault, Dave. I'm Dave Davies. Hi. I was just thinking of the best advice I've ever seen when there's conflict. If you have conflict with your brother, you go to your brother and resolve the conflict rather than do it in public. That really concerns me. I get the feeling sometimes that there's some vindictiveness involved in that. And that vindictiveness needs to be, we need to get a hold of us. All of us have to look at ourselves, try and determine what it is why we're doing what we're doing. I don't think there's anybody on that stand who aren't good people and don't have good intentions. My favorite quote is one from Neil Maxwell quotes it, but it's really from C.S. Lewis. He says, "There are no ordinary people, and there are no ordinary moments. We all have opportunities to say something worthwhile and to project what we're saying to others in such a way that it can bless the lives of others rather than injure them." I know what it is to be impetuous. I'm an old football and wrestling coach and used to have some rather anxious moments on the sidelines, to say the least. And I still like to jump in the middle of a good fight. In a way, I like to get involved in things. I realize that getting involved here is a little bit like volunteering for hazardous duty. I'm not sure whether you're getting shot at or it's the guy that's making the statements that's going to get shot at, but it is hazardous duty, and I know that you hate to be up there being shot at each week, and I think that it should stop. I thought the apology that was received today was sincere and appropriate. I also thought that there should be some from some others, some very serious ones. But they should be made in private first, rather than in public, and then go from there. Okay? Thank you. I realize that you got some problems here, guys, but you don't need to resign over them. They are forgivable sins. And I can forgive them. I think the people can forgive them. You guys have put yourself out there for everybody to take a shot at. I think it's time they quit shooting. Because all it's doing is backfiring in their own faces.
Thank you, Mr. Davies.
Thank you.
My name is Mark Robinson, and I sit on the front row at every city council meeting. It's been pointed out. I'm a little bit discouraged that with all the things going on relating to Mr. Adams, and let's just get the elephant out in the room, we're all upset with him. So I'm sorry, Mr. Davies, he is the one that has shot the shots. He is the one that has brought the media up to the forefront. He is the one that has caused all these things to happen. No one else. Mr. Adams has, by his careless actions, careless and irresponsible actions. He has fired the shots. We are here because we're tired of the way he is acting, period. Mr. Adams, if you would like to act like a civil human being and stop acting like rules do not apply to you, which is how you act, we are more than happy to have you on the council. But if you are going to continue along this path, breaking rules, pointing fingers at others, Public Works, for instance, of all they're doing wrong, when you in the same time are being investigated, what a hypocrite is that? If you're going to continue that, resign. Resign and let someone who is willing to be a mature person sit on the council.
My name's Spencer Luke, and I'm sorry, but I just can't sit anymore. But I guess maybe my first
I'm
words
sorry, I
would be,
didn't get your name. I apologize.
Spencer Luke.
Thank you.
Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. This has gotten out of hand, and to be honest, I guess I'm kind of doing a call to the public to drop this. Honestly, this has got to stop. Okay? I was just talking with staff today in my office today, the fact that it seems like in the day and age we live in, if one person makes a mistake, I'm a dentist. I saw the dentist that killed a lion. So what did everyone do? Everyone went out and tried to boycott him. They wanted to run him down, run him to the ground, make sure he had no way to make a living, no way to do anything else. To be honest, this has got to stop. We live in a day and age where we've got to be civil. To be honest, we want to throw the elephant out in the room, let's do this. To be honest, we all know there are disagreements between councilmen. If you don't know that, seriously, then time is being wasted, okay? But at the same time, in my opinion, I think to bring it out, maybe into the open, I agree with the gentleman that said maybe brother to brother, let's talk about it beforehand. I'm sorry to bring this up. I'm not wanting to create negative feelings or comments, but to be honest, I'm assuming the city council and the mayor are getting tired of hearing this too. I don't think any of us wanted this exactly to go into the media, okay? Kaysville didn't come out looking great at this, no matter how it's done. And if anyone makes a mistake, I'm sorry. Does that mean they should always go to jail? They should lose their position? I agree with the gentleman. I think people are trying to do what they can up here, and I really appreciate it. Off topic, like I said, I would appreciate it if we could just honestly drop this. I think there are ways to get this fixed, okay? And I'm sure the city council and the mayor will take care of it. The two other comments I wanted to ask, and I don't know, what's the formation of the Power Commission? Can I ask what that's in regards to?
Yes, we'll address that when you're done with your comments, just so we don't belabor your time. But
my question is, does it have anything to do with the solar?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. Shoot, I did have another comment, and I honestly don't remember what it was. But again, thanks for your time, and I appreciate all that you're doing. You've all talked to me, you've all been receptive, and I appreciate what you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Margaret Bruff. I really was trying to hold my tongue, but this Robinson family has got a vendetta against Councilman Adams, and I think it's a shame that they will say the things they did. And the thing that Councilman Snell said the other night is that Councilman Adams is an embarrassment to all of us. Now, that was said on television. That is a conflict of interest, or should be beneath you, Chris. You know better than that. I am just upset with this witch trial that these Robinsons are putting Councilman Adams through. And Mayor, I think you should shut them up.
My name is Vance Garfield. I need to go over a little bit of perspective on the wet parade and my overall position with the city as Park and Recreation Supervisor plus Director of Community Events. So I have the responsibility of working with a lot of volunteers, dealing with a lot of issues, and trying to see what is good for the city. And sometimes it rests with my decision. Most of the time I get feedback from council, I get feedback from staff and from citizens. For 10 years, I dealt indirectly with Dave Adams as a volunteer. And every year I was impressed with what he brought to the plate as far as the wet parade. And I'm an opportunist, okay? I have a budget. And when I never got any requests for funds over those 10 years, I was okay with it. 4 years ago, I was challenged by a member of the city council just to check out the water parade, just see if it was worth continuing, even though it cost us nothing. So I walked the water parade with my second daughter and her son, and I watched the people's reaction. I got wet, and I first noticed the joy on their faces. I mean, and the gutters are just flowing with water. And in the second driest state, that can cause some people to have a concern. I noticed as my grandson was very much enjoying the water parade, he was getting too close to the duals, the wheels of the trailer and the tankers. And so I put a mental note, because that's my job, to critique and review and try to make things safe and improve, that I felt like Dave Adams, who I didn't know at the time, needed to have walkers by the wheels. So the following year, I gave him, and this is the first time I met him, and I hadn't met him, old civic committee red shirts that we didn't use. And I said, will you please get your walkers to put these on and then walk the wheels? The following year, I brought some other shirts, and that's the only thing. That was the only expense out of pocket, was shirts to him to watch those wheels, and he, again, didn't ask for any money. But this time, his wife, as I was walking out the door, and I kept this in the back of mind, I said, boy, your husband sure has fun. And she kind of rolled her eyes and says, you can't believe what he spends on this water parade. And I kept the comment from Ann in the back of my mind, and I go, well, should I, the following years, see what maybe we can do to defray some of these costs? I didn't know what the cost involved, and I didn't. And then last year, my sister came up from St. George, and she said specifically, I came up to get wet by Dave Adams. And she's 67, but she wanted to get wet by Dave Adams. So I thought more about it, and then I saw how the water parade was, and so this year, when I started the agendas for the committee, for all the venues to come to a monthly meeting to talk about their venues, I put Dave down for the first time as a line item with the water parade with his name, meaning that I made him a chair without even talking to him. Because the dry parade chairman, whenever I ask him about the wet parade, he goes, talk to Dave. I don't do anything with it. So when he came to me this year and said, I can't do it, and I said, okay, I thought, I want it. Now, I might be wrong, but I've made a lot of decisions in 33 years with the city that could be wrong, but I felt this was good for the community. It was good, clean American fun. So I asked him, how much? And he gave me a ballpark figure at 25, but that was not set as a limit. It was not. And then getting in the throes back and forth of all the events and trying to coordinate and talk. When he came back to me and said it might go up, I was rather neglectful and I was rather flippant, and I said, well, just make sure the decimal point's in the right place, past the 25. And that's where I did a disservice to Dave. I didn't say, hey, let's sit down and go over everything, and so I apologize to you. I didn't do that, and to the council. So I just wanted to clarify my position as Director of Community Events. I would
do the same thing again and support. And we made that this year a community entry because we covered because of his request through the finance director, our insurance covered him so we could have it. So I appreciate his efforts and I appreciate all that's gone on, and I hope we can bring all this to a close and move on because there's so many neat things in the city to deal with. Thank you.
Thank you, Vance. Any other items for call to the public? Seeing none, we will close call to the public. There are just a couple of items to address that stood out. That we're not going to go through them in depth, but the comment about city rebates, I'm not sure that I totally understood that, but there was a article in the newsletter, Councilmember Lee reminded me, regarding utility rebates that are available to all residents. And so if you haven't had a chance to review that in your newsletter, please do so. Mr. Robinson's questions about code of ethics, and also Mr. Lewis's, if you would like, the code of ethics as currently drafted is available on the website. I believe we planned on at least 30 days to receive public comment. The email address to send your comments is ethics@KaysvilleCity.com. I know that we've received several emails. I'm on that distribution list and have seen a few come in already. As far as the discussion, both with Public Works and with the parade, as was pointed out, the recent report from the State Auditor's Office came out on Tuesday. The agenda was set last Friday. We did have a brief internal discussion about amending the agenda to add that, but we anticipated that we would put that discussion, the State Auditor's report, on our next City Council meeting agenda. It is not listed on the agenda tonight, so any action by the council, if it were to be the only appropriate time that it would be brought up, is in council member reports, but no action could be taken, and we will list discussion of the state auditor's report on our August 18th agenda. Also, the question of code of ethics, I think we will not be on our next agenda because for the 30-day time period that we are welcoming feedback, that won't be complete by the time our next meeting comes around. Public Works is also, there's been some coverage of a fund, or it's been referred to as a slush fund that was made aware to the city in the safe at the Public Works office. I don't think I'm saying anything that hasn't been covered thus far in the media. Some time ago, the City Council asked the county attorney to review some items, some claims in the Public Works Department. This item was uncovered by the county attorney as part of that investigation. I would just simply say that that investigation is not concluded, so it would be premature to for the City Council to have a public discussion on that item until that investigation is concluded and we receive notification from the county attorney that their investigation is complete. I believe if there's something else, I think as far as specific questions, I hope I've covered all of those. And
just a clarification on the rebates, and this is just for everyone's knowledge. It was written up several months ago in the newsletter on the front page. It gave a specific place to go on the city website. It is under the power, and so if anybody wants to go there, there is direct links that you can click on to get access to that. Okay.
Thank you, and we'll continue to make people, residents, aware of it. The next on our agenda is discussion regarding the formation of a power commission. Shane or Susan?
Yeah, Councilmember Lee and I have talked about this a little bit as she is over the power department. We've just opened up a dialogue of a formation of a power commission, also known as a power board. So to be any way we want it established, it's usually established as an advisory board, usually very similar to a planning commission or a city council, and they're charged for the most part in maybe taking a longer look at some of the items that are involved in making power decisions. one gentleman asked if this was about solar. This is not necessarily about solar, but solar is something that this commission or board would look at and then make recommendations and advise the council in direction. I think there are 32 UAMPS members, of which we are one, and I think 10 of them have boards, power boards. So again, usually it's just an advisory board, but there are probably some talented individuals in Caseville that would have a handle on power issues, maybe much more than any of us would. So it's probably an idea has some merit, at least in discussion.
And just to add to what Shane said, you know, there's many times where I'll go to meetings with the mayor, with the city manager, with public utility issues with the power department, and our knowledge is so limited. We don't specialize in that area. It's hard for us to understand sometimes what they're even talking about. And so the nice thing about having a power commission, it gives the availability of people with that kind of background and knowledge to listen and give the council a recommendation on issues. And that will be more helpful. I think it will be give more clarity. And anyway, so I'd like to hear other discussion on it.
Yeah, just one question I have is, have you come up with how many people you want on that board, or how are you choosing them? I mean,
yeah.
The process?
Yeah, it'll be similar to the Planning Commission. There will be 7 seats, and it will be done with an application process, and the mayor will get a list of those that he would recommend to the council, and then we would go ahead and approve it.
Okay.
Does that sound about right?
I think similar to appointment to a planning commission. When, I know Susan, Councilmember Lee has raised this issue before, and I can't recall if we were in a meeting together and asked our power superintendent his thoughts, and I think he said, Gary's pretty easygoing, you know, I'll do whatever you tell me to do. But we inquired, maybe it wasn't quite that giving, but it sure seemed that way to me. I inquired of Bountiful City, and I echo what Susan says. I feel like I've become a lot more knowledgeable about power and distribution than I was 8.5 years ago. That being said, it is a lot of information. The city council, if the council were to pursue a discussion about creating a power board, the city council would still have the ultimate authority for adjustment of rates. I think that's required statutorily. But having those who really understand the distribution system, having someone to vet the concerns, to have some thoughtful dialogue, to make recommendations to the city council, much like the planning commission does, I think could be very, very valuable. I know Bountiful City has a power board. I serve with Councilmember Beth Holbrook at the League of Cities and Towns, and I asked her, and she said, yes, we have a power board. 1 or 2 of the council members sit as part of that board. I can't remember, she said it was 1 or 2. She happens to sit on that board, and it becomes a good opportunity to have others become well educated and advise the council. I don't think it relinquishes by any means the council's responsibility, but becomes a good advisory body. 10 of 32 UAMPS communities are doing it that way. If the council were to consider doing something like this, I would recommend that you direct staff to come up with a power commission ordinance, if you will, of how, maybe copy from the other cities of how that would look, bring that back to the council, and I guess you're probably looking for some guidance. Do you want us to pursue that discussion, having something to look at, something tangible to say this is how it would operate, I think would be very beneficial. I think it's a good idea.
I think it's a great idea, and I think there's a lot of men and women in the community who have a lot of experience in this arena. I've spoke with several of them, people who are former Rocky Mountain Power employees, former purchasing agents, former controllers. They all live here in Kaysville. Their expertise could probably really help ease a lot of burdens. I'm sure Gary would appreciate it. Yeah. You know, more heads is better. Also, I remember last year, while we're on the topic of power, I remember last year there were some campaigns about how Rocky Mountain Power would charge us $40 to $60 million. I remember were the figures. You've met with some Rocky Mountain Power people. Is that, were you able to discuss with them? I'm not saying that we make it, obviously not saying we talk about or make a decision on selling the power company today, but how did that go with them? Is there validity to that, or they actually pay us?
They did assure us that our power company has value, and they're not willing to say a number when we're just sitting there over lunch. But yes, they said we have great value. We have 9,000 some odd connections, and infrastructure that in some places is wonderful, and in some places needs a little work. But it all has a tremendous amount of value. So
we wouldn't pay them
No.
30, 40, 50 million. We wouldn't pay them anything.
The gentleman I met with assured me that would not be the case. But.
I've a former controller of Rocky Mountain Power kind of shared the same sentiment. He says, "Oh no, they're eager to buy up local companies." Obviously, that's a huge discussion, but just curious about the rumor on that. Thanks, Shane.
I think also to Councilman Adams' point about the Power Commission is one of the downsides to having a board like that is, can you get people in your community that are talented enough? And I would agree. We definitely in Caseville, I think, would have no problem filling that with individuals that understand how power works. It's such a technical thing, very hard. I would argue that 9 out of our 10 residents don't understand where we get our power from, why we have our own power company. It's just a really, really challenging thing. But I think here we'd have a lot of good folks that would understand that. So Councilmember Lee creates another meeting for herself. That's another downside. And it does take some staff time, obviously, Gary and someone to take minutes, and those things are also factors that would be you need to think about. But at the same time, there's probably more positives than negatives.
So I imagine the general feeling, and you could do it by motion if that was interest, but would be giving staff direction to further explore the formation of a power commission, including a operating document for the city council to consider in a future meeting. And I would say it probably wouldn't hurt to even have a public hearing if we wanted to get some feedback from folks on it when we actually have something to review. It's not necessarily something we'd have to make a decision in our next meeting, but if the council wanted to direct the staff to come up with something, that could be done by a motion. I'm sensing by body language. Is Councilmember Garn on the phone?
Yes.
Still?
I think.
Hi.
Jake, you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Hi, Jake. Sorry, I arrived a few minutes late, and so I kind of forgot you were there.
We were going to bring him up into the pictures with us. But
That's right. We could have held up the phone.
Phone.
All right. So anyway, so that would be that would be a consideration. We can continue discussing the pros and cons tonight, if you would like. My sense is, I was going to say that led me to Jake is from body language and nods, is that the council is at least interested in maybe exploring this on the next step. But that could be made by a motion. If so interested, we could continue discussing the item tonight, but my sense tells me having something tangible to look at and work through, like some of those questions, how many people would be on it, how often would they meet, how would they be appointed, what would they discuss, what authority would they have, what recommendations would they give. Those are probably all things that if it was in a document might be a little more easy to answer.
Well, I'd like to make that motion along the lines of what Mayor Hyatt just said to staff, that they put together documentation for a power commission. And I would like to put it by the first meeting in September, have that available and have it open for discussion. And then once we have that, then have it open to the public, and then the following meeting, have the public hearing on it.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll second that. I think it's a great idea, and I think also, whoever you spoke with, it might be interesting just for the sake of comparing values and costs and those things to take a look with that gentleman at what the value of our system is and our options.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion by Councilmember Lee and a second by Councilmember Adams for direction to staff to pursue a document for discussion at our first meeting in September. Any further discussion on this item?
I do think it makes a lot of sense to create a commission of people who can advise us on matters that are far more technical than we can get into often in the council level. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
An only matter of the foresight. There's no talks or anything amongst this council about selling the power company. Technically, it'd just be good to do a cost analysis just to alleviate any employees' fears or anything that's not.
Start a firestorm?
No. But maybe a cost analysis would be great. It'd be good to know the value of our system, to present that to our taxpayers and say, here's what basically we're a co-op, right? It'd be nice for them, I think, to know what their co-op is worth.
Yeah, I agree.
Just one more comment. I agree that it would be a good idea to look at the Power Commission. I'm a little concerned with talk of selling the power company, however, because I'm not an expert on this either, but it appears to me that Kaysville residents save a significant amount of money over Rocky Mountain Power's rates. So I wouldn't be in a hurry to sell the company and raise rates to Kaysville residents.
Agreed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great point.
All right, so we have a motion and a second on the table. Councilmember Garn, will you start a vote for us, please?
Aye.
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 Thank you, and voting is unanimous. Next on our agenda is award of contract for Heritage Park parking lot paving project.
If you look in your packets, you can see the JUB has made a recommendation for the lowest qualified bid. And entertain questions. We have Lyle here that probably can answer a few, and Cole is here as well.
Looks like we got a number of bids, by my count, 6 of them that came across. Pretty far-ranging price on that, but oddly enough, the lowest bid, in fact, 5 of the 6 bids came in under the engineer's probable cost estimate. Yeah. So I think that's pretty significant. And I know that if anybody is unaware of where this is, it's at Heritage Park. It's an auxiliary, basically, parking lot. There's the one main parking lot between Heritage Park and the library, the Davis County Library, which is packed almost daily, especially during the summer with people using the park and the splash pad. And then parking just spills out into lots of other places. So we have another area just kind of west and a little bit north of that existing parking lot where there is another 70-ish parking stalls that we're looking to pave. There's already curb and gutter. There's been a lot of storm drain work that's already been done there. All it needs is this asphalt on it and then striping so that we can have, again, about 70 additional parking spaces at Heritage Park and the library, especially when we have some of our community events like that we do during the summer, the movies in the park and things like that. Those the getting parking off the streets is a really good idea, and having parking inside next to the park I think is great. So I think this is a really important project to get done, and I'm glad that we have reasonably priced bids that came in. So
and 6 too.
6
That's
of them.
cool.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of interest in our
cool.
city's work.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work to get to. Good job.
It is interesting to note that the second highest bid is less than half that of the highest bid.
Yes.
I don't know where the highest bidder was at, but that's more than double what the next highest.
Yeah, they got a lot of work.
They laced their asphalt with gold.
Yeah.
Staker.
So, Mayor, I'll make a motion that we award the contract for the paving of the Heritage Park parking lot to Post Asphalt.
And I'll
Second.
second,
Go ahead, Larry.
I think a motion by Councilmember Snell and a second by Councilmember Page for approval of the contract. Any further discussion? We just note that Councilmember Lee has stepped out. I do have just one question about, we discussed this a few months ago and considered doing this as a change order. And I think there was some fair question about the appropriateness of paving this parking lot with a change order on a different project. That change order was for $96,000. Our low bid here is $116,000, so we're about $20,000 more. Am I missing something there?
You are in that, it's not an apples to apples comparison. In that other change order, we were going to supply some road base and some other in-kind materials.
Okay.
So Andy did do the math, and we're real close to about the same.
Good.
So.
Yeah, and there's like
Makes sense for that.
geotextile fabric in this one and pit run in this one. Those are all subgrade below the asphalt layer that wasn't in the other one. So there's quite a bit more value and materials we're actually getting out of this one.
That helps. I didn't want to have that lingering in my mind and always wonder if, though procedurally, it's certainly better if that was something we were leaving on the table. So we have a motion and a second as outlined. Councilmember Adams, will you start a vote?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Voting is unanimous. Next on our agenda is hunting in West Kaysville. Talk about a broad agenda item. You know, what could that even mean? Mr.
Holmes. Is Mr. Holmes here? Yeah. Do you want to speak to this issue, or I guess this is something that he has requested before and has been granted access by the council, but we are required ourselves, or someone has required us to do this every year if we want to continue to do it, just to look at it, I think. So it doesn't need to be done by resolution. We can simply make a motion to approve this for another year if that's what the council desires.
I think Councilmember Lee and I were the only two on the council when this originally came, but the question was, when you're on the far west end of town, I believe it was for pheasant hunting, what does the ordinance allow? And Mr. Holmes came before the city council, and we said, yes, that works, you can do it. What we didn't want to have happen is all of a sudden one year homes pop up all around where it used to go, and then it was just an unconditional go ahead and hunt. And so we asked for it to be brought back to the city council each year for approval. So it was, the ordinance and the discussion was discussed pretty in depth last year. You have before you Mr. Holmes' letter, and that's the reason why it's back before us today. We're going to make him come every single year and, and make the request, or anyone for that matter. So that's a little bit of the background.
I would like to go ahead and make a motion to allow hunting in West Caseville for another year.
Oh, and she lives on the west,
And I'm
very
very
west
close to
house.
it.
Wow. I'll second the motion.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Further discussion. I just had a question. Do we need to be user and property specific? Because something tells me if we just make a motion for hunting in West Kaysville, we may have some folks down on.
We don't want people shooting.
Does that mean my kids can go out in my backyard?
And to say, hey, sure, yeah, I was hunting next to boondocks, and I saw the ordinance. I heard the motion. You could maybe I would just recommend as per Mr. Holmes for Mr. Holmes as per his letter.
Okay, as per Mr. Holmes, clarifications where it's allowed.
Now, did he sneak anything in there? Let's be double checking.
Way far west.
Yes, it is very far west.
He used to wash my tractors. I haven't seen him in years. I'm sorry. I'm just teasing it.
All right, field he's returning to is West Kaysville, the bottom of 2nd North, way down at the very end of 2nd North is the area that he's referring to. So
Yep.
we have a motion and a second as outlined. Councilmember Lee, will you start a vote?
Aye.
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 Thank you. The voting is unanimous. The next item on our agenda is preliminary plat for Streams Edge subdivision located approximately 750 North Case Creek Road, Symphony Homes. This was an item that was twice before tabled back to the city council today.
Yeah, so previously the council's been discussing this property on the north side of town, just north of Phillips Street. And the recent meeting, it was approved by the council to annex the property into the city. The R1 LD zone was assigned to the property. And so all that's left in the discussion is looking at the plat. I believe the item of most interest currently is access into the property, is basically what's been left on the table for consideration. The plat includes 20 lots ranging from just over, if I look at the right report, just over 14,000 square feet up to 35,000 square feet. It complies with the requirements of the zone for frontage, density, and lot sizes. The applicant with Symphony Homes is here this evening, as well as the property owner currently, I believe. So if the council has questions, I'm happy to take them myself, but probably be most of interest to hear from them and their updates and reports regarding that.
I think our table was somewhat contingent upon Symphony's work, and so it'd probably be most appropriate to hear from them first.
Hello, I'm Russ Wilson with Symphony Homes, back again. At our last meeting, I promised that I'd reach out to Mr. Robbins again to ask him about his thoughts about providing a temporary or even a permanent access through his current property. I've had several discussions also with a few of the residents of Old Farm at Case Creek, and I've relayed messages to them. We weren't able to come together for a meeting, but Mr. Robbins is opposed to any sort of a permanent or even a temporary connection through his property. He has his own plans for the farming and other uses for his property. So I explained that to the residents. They seem to be disappointed, but realize that there's not much else to do. So I think we're okay. I didn't see any of the residents here tonight.
And you've done valiantly everything that you could and were asked to do, and
yeah,
and it's very understandable. I'm assuming this is Mr.
This is Mr. Robbins. Yeah.
Robbins. It's very understandable, as a property owner. So we absolutely need to respect that too. So appreciation on both parts of considering.
Yeah.
And I believe you had mentioned in some of our previous discussions that Symphony Homes plans to, I think you mentioned a sign, some other features that you would try to do some
to help the traffic, especially
correct
with
the traffic situation of construction trucks going through there and whatnot. I mean, there are neighborhoods, as we've pointed out also, there are neighborhoods all over the city where a subdivision goes in next to an existing subdivision, and you have to access it somehow, and you access it on the existing roads. I believe, though, that the Planning Commission, when they voted to approve or to recommend approval of the preliminary plat, they also indicated that it would be a good idea to have to indicate an easement for the future road that would go through the property out to Phillips Street at that future time, once the remaining acreage is developed. Is that correct?
That's accurate, yeah. The Planning Commission, recognizing the stub road, felt that it might be more of a guarantee to have some sort of documentation or other things in place if possible.
But if we can't obviously compel the property owner to sell his land for a future road, is a suggestion to try and compel the property owner to grant an easement for a future road? That doesn't seem any more feasible to me, but am I missing something?
It's an encumbrance nonetheless, and I think we feel as staff, based on the typical subdivision process, when somebody goes to develop the remainder portions of the property anyway, with or without an easement, we would require the road connection through there. That's why we have the stub road in the existing preliminary plat.
Right. It would be too long of a cul-de-sac, right? I mean,
correct.
If they tried to just cul-de-sac it in at that point. So are you saying it's not really necessary procedurally to include verbiage about indicating a road connecting through, or
I don't
because that will be
so.
required by staff?
There could be benefits to future property owners so that they know, hey, if I'm going to subdivide this, when I bought my property, there was something on there that said I'm going to be putting a road in. But ultimately, when they come in to talk to city staff, we tell them that anyway before they start a process, that's something we would look at.
I would fear a little bit of encumbering his title, though, without legal counsel on that. That's not something that I'd be prepared to make a decision on.
And I'm certainly no legal expert. I'm just not sure how we can, in the matter of this process, approve it subject to getting an easement. If we're talking, anyway, to my knowledge, that has not ever been the norm for us to require someone to get a easement on an adjacent property. But
yeah, there would still be some hesitation of that being some sort of exaction on property that's not part of the subdivision. So
the real power we probably have is just not approving the subdivision to be continued there without that road.
Without a road.
yeah, when this comes, the city council, whoever it is at that time, will have the opportunity to discuss that. That's a pretty obvious connection. I can't imagine they would allow that to be a big cul-de-sac back here that everyone has to. I think these people would definitely be back if that was the discussion. Right. The only other, The only other question I had is, and maybe my memory's just not serving me, for some reason I thought that I looked at the minutes, they do say that we tabled this for 2 weeks. At one point, did we talk about tabling it for a month? For some reason, I expect...
We did, and then I requested 2 weeks because we were just on a schedule.
I wanted to make sure that wasn't a misunderstanding, and that part of the reason why nobody from the neighborhood is here tonight is they said, hey, for some reason we thought it was a month from now, and of course we weren't there. We didn't know you were talking about it, but...
Yeah, talking to the residents, it sounds like they're, like I said, they're disappointed, but they're okay. They understand.
We've, and I certainly trust what Mr. Wilson is telling us, have no reason to second guess that. Just in years past on certain items, I'm not recommending that we table this, let me just make that clear, but on certain items, the council has made motions to approve or do something subject to just clarification with maybe the spokesperson that they were aware that it was discussed tonight. Maybe that's not necessary, but there's been times, I'm sure over the last 8 years, I can recall 1 or 2 that if it was very unclear, ideally they would be here tonight to just say, yes, we're good, but on the flip side, maybe why come to a meeting just to say we're good?
Yeah, hey, just one question. I know we discussed earlier, and I noticed it's not on the plat. Weren't we talking about putting a connect?
The trail connection, yeah, it actually is on the plat. It's really hard to see. It's an 8-foot.
Well, I'm half blind,
it's between lots 8 and 9, it's an 8-foot asphalt trail connection.
Okay, good. So it's on it. Good. Okay, I just want to make sure that was on. Well, I'm okay to make a motion that we approve Streams Edge subdivision preliminary plot located at 750 North Case Creek Road, approximately.
I'll second.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead. Ladies first.
Go ahead.
I'll second it. Mayor's concern is very valid, but I recall also that was pretty explicit in the last meeting where we throttled it back, and there was no conflict, I remember, with the people, so, of throttling it back to 2 weeks instead of 4, so I'll second the motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second as outlined. I'm not sure that it's necessary. I think the record reflects it. I don't think your vision's that bad because it's not on this plat that we've seen.
Our plat before us doesn't have it.
I can see that it's up there, and so I don't even know if that needs to be included in the motion or not, but at least so long as it's very clear for the record that it does include the path between 8 and 9.
8 and 9, is that right?
Right. And it's just not on.
8 and 9, yeah.
It's just not on the one that we see.
Maybe you got an old copy, I'm not sure, but.
We got him on YouTube.
There you go, that's right. All right.
The item on the overhead is correct. The one in the plat appears to be a previous version, or in your packet, so.
All right, so Councilmember Page, your motion includes ensuring that the trail's connection is there, correct?
It does now?
Yes, it does now. All right. Same.
It does now.
It's there.
Same second.
We'll put the words in there for you.
It's on that one. We approve that one, not this one.
Thank you. A motion and a second is outlined. Councilmember Snell, will you start a vote?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is final plat approval for Weiser subdivision at approximately 507 South, 800 East.
Okay. It's been nearly a year since this was before the council. Originally, Jerry Weiser came before the Planning Commission and City Council with a subdivision of this property that included 7 lots. This major discussion at that point was whether or not the road at 500 East should push through or if it could be a cul-de-sac street. It was decided at that time, after a significant amount of comment from the surrounding neighborhood, that they wanted a cul-de-sac. And so he's maintained that layout. He has, however, made some modifications to the proposed lot layout. It's gone from 7 lots down to just 5 lots. And one of the differences as well being the original preliminary plat indicated between lots 2 and 3, at least on this plat, a pedestrian walkway connection. They've indicated that being removed here on their final plat proposal. It was discussed at great length through the Planning Commission, or whether or not that was still desirable or necessary. And ultimately, the Planning Commission determined and recommended approval of the plat here before you without the walkway, in large part based on concerns from city staff and others regarding maintenance and liability of a pathway that wouldn't be controlled or watched over by an HOA. So what you see here before you, the Planning Commission did recommend unanimously to the City Council to approve. And I'd be happy to take other questions on it. And I believe
Mr. White.
Yes, in the far back. The applicant is here as well. Well, then on the trail, we just approved a trail on one, and now we're letting go on the other. There's a clear-cut difference. The other one leads to the trail, and this leads, that's kind of a lot to ask for private property owners to trail to each other. So just clarifying for the public. Yeah, I think it's fine. If you look at those lots, I can see, I'm 60% blind. I'm behind Larry on that. But those lots are huge too, so that's great.
They are.
The smallest is .43.
Yeah,
I think?
about 18,000 square feet, so.
Yeah, so that's a great addition to that neighborhood.
And I think that pathway there is to allow ease for the kids to watch Burton. Is that right? Is that close to Burton Elementary School for those kids?
My understanding is, when this first came, we talked about this in development meeting briefly, when this initially was being discussed, either these roads weren't complete or these roads way back in the day. Yeah. And there was discussion of this going all the way through, rather being a street all the way through, and that wasn't desired. And then all of this developed. And so back when that was being discussed without a connection, I think that's where the pathway came. Now that you see this completed, you do have the elementary school that's up here, but all of these folks have a very safe and direct access that goes up to the school, where this pathway, if you have in the end of a cul-de-sac, that was the question that Cole asked, is are we going to maintain that? Who's going to maintain that? And I still think you have this, well, I guess that's a good point. It could be for the high school, but you're still going to have this movement that allows you to be a relatively direct access as well. Just with these connections, I think that we figured the trade-off was you're going to have a maintenance problem in the future for a shortcut that probably doesn't really exist anymore.
To put together, to try and push an HOA on a developer just for that that's a tall order.
That's true.
I agree.
So I'll make a motion that we grant final plat approval for Weiser subdivision at approximately 507 South, 800 East.
I'll second the motion.
I think there's a motion by Councilmember Snell and a second by Councilmember Adams for approval as outlined. Any further discussion? Councilmember Page, will you start a vote?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Voting is unanimous. Next on our agenda is councilmember reports. Any reports that you'd like to share, council? I have one comment that I'll make. I'm not interested in getting into any of the other discussion. Just as was mentioned, we'll discuss that in our next meeting. But I do like the comment that I think that was shared by Mr. McCleary just in general. I think Vance kind of echoed it a little bit. At this gathering that they had this evening, it started at 6:30, and so I came at 6:20 knowing that I would only be able to stay for about 20 minutes.
The Hill Air Force Base.
Yes, yeah, for the initial operational capability. But I saw a Air Force general who used to be stationed here at Hill Air Force Base and was one of our distinguished visitors. And again, I was only there for a short period of time, did a lot of handshaking, a lot of hugs, a lot of hellos. But this particular Air Force general who works he's stationed in the Pentagon now and flew in for this celebration tomorrow. He said, "Mayor, great to see you," and we exchanged our greetings. He says, "We were just talking about you this morning." And I said, "Well, that always alarms me." He said, "No, not you. We were talking about your 4th of July celebrations and how awesome they are." And it was just a little reassuring to me that you've got some Air Force folks flying on a plane from the Pentagon, and Caseville celebrations came up. So I do think we need to work through these discussions and these concerns, and I have no doubt that we'll move past it. But that was very a nice comment to receive, and I just wanted to share that. And then if any of you are really like these kind of IOC things, they are live streaming the celebration on the Air Force's website tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Utah time, and it's a really, really, really big deal. In the 70s, Hill Air Force Base was the first to receive the F-16, and the 388 Fighter Wing received it, and we became one of the premier fighter wings of all of the bases in the United States that competed to get the F-35. Hill Air Force Base landed that contract. It's been a long, long, long time coming. We received our first 2 jets back in September, and have now built up the fleet up to a point where they can declare this tomorrow. and just for our community as a whole, for northern Utah, it's an exciting time, and eventually the F-16s will be phased out as more F-35s come in. But we're pretty fortunate and I think blessed to have the type of installation here, the type of leadership assigned here, and these Air Force leaders never, ever, ever come without making a really, really big deal about the community support. I hear that all the time. Shane went to a change of command ceremony with me up there. Larry has been to an event up there, and it never fails. They always will say, the community support here is awesome. So my hat goes off to everybody, the communities who support. It is recognized throughout the world, literally, of the great support we have here in northern Utah. So that's just a report about that. It's kind of an exciting day tomorrow.
Well, one thing I'd like to add to that, Mayor, as well, I think we have a great mayor that participates in those kind of things as well. And I remember the commander up there talking to me, and that's a big thing for these Air Force bases. If they feel like they have support, they will fight for everything to keep in there. I don't think we understand how much competition there is to land these things, because it'd be devastating to Davis County in Utah if we lost Hill Air Force Base. And there's a lot of winds blowing to shut down these bases, and so I think we're very fortunate. And I think it's a good policy for the civic leaders of the towns that surround these bases to be very cooperative and let them know, hey, we love you guys being here, and anything we can do for you is very important. And I think that's a very good thing. So, Mayor, appreciate it. I know you spend a lot of time.
Thank you.
A ton of time. You spend a ton of time over there.
You get us some backstage passes.
That's right. You know, I am going to the ceremony tomorrow, and I wrote back and said, is my wife invited? And they said, no, I'm sorry. So something tells me no, I can't
What about
get
your
any backstage
bodyguards?
passes. I think not. I think it's
They're pretty
very,
picky, yeah.
very limited from those kind of events. But it's kind of, anyway, it was neat to just see that many generals in one room all coming in from around the country to be here in our community to celebrate. It's pretty neat.
I will report briefly, the chair of the Pickleball Committee that has been raising money was here earlier tonight, but she appears to have stepped out and gone home. Their fundraising is now at nearly $92,000 of money in the bank, so they continue to raise money and they continue to do their work. So proud of them, and it's amazing what people who have a passion and want to get stuff done. We saw earlier tonight this young little Tabitha trying to get something good done, and that's fantastic. We probably have a young little Tammy Worston in the making with little Tabitha. So that was amazing. So congratulations to them. You know, I hesitate to even say anything, but so I will make it very, very brief. My comments here. A couple of the public comments tonight were directed at me with regard to my participation in media interviews earlier this week, and I just want to briefly say that you know, there were a number of people at this table who were interviewed in those media events, and I don't think it was wrong for any one of us to have participated in that. I don't know that any one of us actually reached out and initiated those interviews. I know I certainly didn't, and it came. They called me, and so it came out that way. So, for it to be characterized as a breach of ethics, I think that is wrong. Anyway, no more needs to be said about that. The only other thing I want to say is that I think my comments anybody can go back and watch KUTV News or Fox 13 News from the other night, and they can review the transcripts and even the video of those. I was misquoted by Mrs. Bruff tonight. I never said that Mr. Adams was an embarrassment to the council. I never said anything along those lines. So anyway, just wanted to make sure everyone's aware. They can go and review the Channel 13 News and listen to what was said, and that's
Correct.
Thank
It's
you,
different
ladies
than
and
saying
gentlemen. Please keep
he's an
Excuse me, gentlemen.
Anyway.
We've been rebuked on that side, Chris. The public's been rebuked by you or warned that they wouldn't be threatened by this panel of 6 weeks
I am
ago.
not
I
threatening,
think
I'm
you're
simply correcting
contending
the record.
with the public.
That's all I'm
Let's tread lightly.
I appreciate that, Dave. I do. You know, I wanted to make sure
Just
that
in
I
the
corrected
in
the
light of your own
Let
words.
him finish, Councilmember Adams, and then you can.
I
you can
believe
have
I
your
was
turn.
misquoted, and I think I just demonstrated that tonight, that I was misquoted in what I said. And so that's all I'm going to say about that. The proof is in the pudding. You can watch the video. So.
Thank you. Any other council member reports?
I don't have anything I need to say to contend with anyone. I respect all of you for coming out and the courage that all of you have on both sides of the coin, and completely understand it. We all fall on different sides of the coin on all issues, and we have to respect that. And sometimes we have to agree to disagree with one another, and sometimes we have to acknowledge. I think in our natural man ways that we're wired, I think sometimes we have to acknowledge that we want the outcome to be something that it's maybe not. Sometimes we want something to be something more ill-intended than what it really was, to fulfill our own heart's purposes, to seek out revenge on other people. So nothing intended here, just one correction. And Chris, this isn't as a rebuttal or anything of that nature. I was reached out to by actually Shane Scott, and he said, hey, channel whatever it was the one that Matt Gephardt works for, channel 2, I guess. He said, hey, they're going to be here at 3, and they'd like you to be here. And my first reaction was, oh, heck no. But at any rate, Matt came to my home afterwards and did live feed from my home for whatever reason, called us, and we had a discussion there in my front yard, and I said, how did this all come about? He says, well, I wasn't supposed to be here today. Brian Malahy is off today. He says, at 8 a.m. I got woken up and said, you need to get in here and cover this today. I said, okay, cool. And he says, I called your city manager, Mr. Scott, and got a hold of him and told him the schedule. He says, and 20 minutes later, I got a phone call from Councilmember Snell asking if he could come and comment on the segment. So,
sorry, it didn't happen that way. I was called.
I'm not going to misquote Matt, but.
Okay, well, I will.
It's fair.
I was called.
I'm glad to hear whatever, like I said, there's always two sides to everything, so that was just out of the mouth of Matt.
Thank you. Any other council member reports? Next on our agenda is approval of minutes. We have one set of minutes dated July 21st, 2000.
Don't intimidate the public, Councilmember Snell.
Gentlemen, please. The next item on our agenda is approval of minutes. You have one set of minutes dated July 21st, 2016. If you've had a chance to review, I'd welcome a motion for their approval.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Thank you. A motion and a second for approval of the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next item is approval of claims. You have before you one set of claims dated August 4th, 2016 at 10:40 a.m. in the amount of $314,145.75. Welcome a motion for their approval.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve the claims as outlined.
I'll second that.
Thank you. A motion by Councilmember Snell and a second by Councilmember Page for approval as outlined, or approval of the claims, excuse me. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Next on our agenda is review of calendar. You have before you a schedule of events through August 27th. Some notable items that we'll point out. The Neon Nights 5K is at Barnes Park on Friday, August 5th from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. We welcome your participation. You can find out more, I assume, at KaysvilleRec.com, not on our community events page. Is this a private event? Okay. All right. Well, Neon Nights, nighttime 5K.
And how about Saturday? Oh, I'm sorry, you're still on.
Yeah, I was just going to go, yep. And then on Thursday, is there something on Saturday as well?
Miss Caseville pageant?
Thank you, that's right.
Or
I think we just talked
Caseville
about.
Fruit Heights pageant.
That's right, on Saturday, August 6th at 7 p.m. is the Kaysville Fruit Heights Miss Kaysville Fruit Heights pageant at Davis High School. And also, council members, they have extended invitation if anyone would like to attend. Would love to have you there as well. Councilmember Lee and I will welcome at the beginning, but I promise you the event will get better after that.
Yes.
Well, only speaking to me,
No.
not regarding.
No, I agree.
Councilmember Lee.
And
then,
it starts at what time was that?
7 p.m.
Yes.
And then we have other items too that I think the USU Botanical Center Farmers Market on Thursday the 11th, 5 to 8 p.m. We have the all-day U5 Challenge on Tuesday, August 16th. The Business Alliance Networking Luncheon at this time held at Boondocks Fun Center on Tuesday, August 16th at 11:30 a.m. to 12:30. And then the unveiling of our Chad Hawkins painting, the parade painting, will be Tuesday, August 16th at 6 p.m. at the Caseville Police Department, and all members of the public are invited to that as well. The next on our agenda is a closed session. We have just a few times that we can move into a closed session to, as a council. One of them is discuss property, pending litigation, and the technical term to close the meeting for personnel is a closed session to discuss the character, competence, or mental health of an individual. In past, I think we have just said closed session to discuss personnel. This is technically the legally appropriate way to designate a closed session for personnel, is with this language, just in case there's any clarity needed. So we have a closed session to discuss the character, competence, or health of an individual. Would welcome that motion following a short break.
I'll make the motion that we go into a closed meeting to discuss the character, competence, or health of an individual.
With the break, I'll second it.
Thank you. A motion by Councilmember Lee and a second by Councilmember Adams. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Was there a gal named Felicia here? Did anybody acknowledge? Is there a lady? I thought I don't know. I just forgot to say bye, Felicia, so if anybody sees her.